All right, hello there, thrill seekers. How do you choose a career, and can you plan for the future and still be in the here and now? That and more will be answered after 30 seconds of cowboy guitar. Alright, I'm back, thrill seekers. And I got a question in the emails, and as you know, since before your sun burned hot in space and before your race was born, I have awaited a question. And if you want to send me a question, you can send one to, or many, or whatever, however many questions you want, you can send to bw@hardcorezen.info. Here's somebody who took that advice and sent me a question, so let's read it. Hi. So, I'm in my last year of high school. And in my country, the grade of this school year determines which college I could go to. I have many hobbies, but I rarely feel attracted to anything that can be made into a sustainable career, and tend to enjoy most subjects while not being drawn to any as a path to work in. The more I learn Zen, the closer I am to the here and now, but at the same time, can I have a career to work towards while I'm still in the here and now? And do you have any advice for finding what career path to take? This has been a problem for me for 3 years now. Okay, well, I don't know. Am I the right person to answer this question? I'm going to try to answer it. But you should know that I graduated high school in 1982, and I'm still kind of figuring out what career path to take, even though, well, life has kind of taken me on its own career path. So, when I graduated high school, I went to Kent State University right after high school, and the first thing I did was major in communications, which was supposed to lead me to a job in television, film, or radio. And at some point during that semester of communications majoring, I thought, oh, this isn't going to work out. How can I ever get a job in that field? So I switched over to art, which was stupid because art is even harder to find a career in, but it didn't matter because I was a lousy art student. So eventually, I think after a couple of more changes to my major, I ended up getting a history major with a teaching minor. And that was intended, what I intended was that I could get a job as a high school history teacher, because I thought, okay, that's a stable, sustainable career path, as the person who asked me the question wrote. Graduated high school college, graduated university. For those of you who are not, in the U.S. we use the words interchangeably. Anyway, graduated university. And I couldn't get a job as a high school history teacher because nobody had told me, even though I assume everybody who was teaching me knew this, that they don't hire high school history teachers. And what they hire, I don't know if this is still true. I assume it's still true. What they hire is coaches, particularly football coaches, who they then justify their hiring of by making them history teachers. So nobody hires history teachers. So anyway, long story short, I ended up, the longest sort of career I had, other than what I'm doing now, it was working at a television and film production company in Japan. So I should have stuck with my first major as my lesson there. But the other lesson is that life sort of takes you where it's going to go. So I kind of feel like, as far as a young person trying to choose what sort of career path they're going to go on, it's almost arbitrary. I mean, I think you should probably choose something. Set a kind of aim at something. And, choose wisely. Don't choose a really dumb major. The cliche one that conservatives like to pull out is lesbian basket weaving. But there are all kinds of weird, silly majors that'll never get you anywhere. But choose a decent enough major that it has a reasonable chance of getting you a job, and then just go for it. Choose something you enjoy, because at least in my experience, it's not necessarily going to set you for life. I mean, that certainly isn't what happened to me. It didn't, what I chose didn't set me up for life. It just gave me a nice foundation. I'm glad I went to university, because going to university was what allowed me to get to Japan, because all they required I went on the Japan Exchange and Teaching Program, and all they required was a bachelor's degree in anything at the time. So it was good that I had a bachelor's degree, because that launched me on everything. But other than that, I don't know how much it really mattered. Now, there's another question embedded in this question, or maybe it's just the second question, or first question. Anyway, whatever. He asks, let me get this right. Let me read it right off the paper here. It's not really paper. Anyway. Can I have a career to work towards while I'm still in the here and now? Now, this is something that did concern me, because I started getting into Zen and Eastern philosophies in general, which are very emphatic about remaining in the here and now, as everybody knows. Anybody watching this channel would certainly know at least that much. And I got into it in my first or second year at university, so I was worried about how to choose a career path and all that. And I thought that trying to aim for something in the future was going to take me out of the here and now, like this questioner thinks. But that's not really true. And my teacher set me straight on this early on, which is, and it's so obvious once you hear it, you'll be like, But the only time you can plan for the future is in the here and now. You can't plan for the future in the future. You can't plan for the future in the past. You plan for the future now. So you're in the here and now when you're planning for the future. The only problem I see with that is there's a certain kind of very ambitious person who decides that if only I can achieve X, whatever X may be, or only if I can acquire X. If I can only acquire X, then I will solve all my problems and I will be happy. And I will not be happy unless I achieve or acquire X. And X could be anything. X could be, I wanted to be a rock and roll star when I was younger, or I wanted to be a writer, which is funny because I ended up becoming a writer, but I never had the notion that I would write books about Zen. I've talked about this a lot, but I thought maybe I could write science fiction or novels, or maybe books about Ultraman and Godzilla and things I was interested in. These other subjects I thought might be more viable, as a something you could actually publish a book with. And when I did finally write a book about Zen at the behest of my teacher, Nishijima Roshi, who said, you ought to write a book about Zen, I thought I'd written an unpublishable book, and I only sent it in to publishers because I'd written the damn book, so I might as well send it in to somebody and at least get some rejection letters. And that was the book that got published. I'd sent 3 complete novels out to publishers before then, and who knows how many short stories, and everything had been rejected. But the one that I thought was completely unpublishable was the one that got accepted. So it goes to show you that the conscious choice in these things is, I don't think it's a major factor. I think it's one factor in how you get somewhere, but I think it's very minor in the scheme of things, and there's so much more going on that you can't do anything about. But anyway, back to the point of the ambitious person. There is that person who's kind of looking so much toward the future and so much towards this thing that they think is going to solve all their problems, whether it's being a rock star, a movie star, or a CEO or president of the United States, or whatever the hell it is. And they get fixated on that, and sometimes that fixation is enough to kind of propel them to be able to achieve that thing. Not always, because again, there's so many other unknown factors involved that you can't do anything about. But sometimes that is propelling them to achieve that thing. Once you achieve that thing, what you'll notice, inevitably, is that it doesn't solve all your problems. And this goes for even if X, the thing that's going to solve all your problems, is unsurpassed, complete, perfect enlightenment that the Buddhists talk about. People who get into Buddhism imagine that there's going to be this state of enlightenment that they're going to achieve someday, and that state of enlightenment is going to fix all their problems just the same way that a person who wants to be a rock star or a movie star or president of the United States or CEO of whatever, it doesn't matter. Whatever else ambition they have, they think that's going to solve their problems. Neither one is going to solve your problems. You're just going to have the problems that you have. But I think unsurpassed, complete, perfect enlightenment might help you figure out a way to deal with those problems a little better. So I'm not saying it's a waste of time, but it's not going to solve all your problems. So yeah, bottom line is, well, I don't know if this is the bottom line, but I feel like if this person I assume is 17 or 18 years old, and if you're that age and you're looking at what are you going to do with your life? Does anybody remember that? If you're 17 or 18, you certainly don't remember that video, but I think it was a Twisted Sister video where the guy is going, what are you going to do with your life? Well, if you're thinking about what are you going to do with your life, let's see the clip.
What do you want to do with your life?
There, okay, now you know what I'm talking about. If you're thinking about what are you going to do with your life, I think that's supposed to be the kid's dad, in the kid in the video's dad. Anyway, when you're thinking about that, I think it's useful to think about what you're going to do with your life.
I want to rock.
You know, it helps to have some kind of an aim. The people I have known who try to completely dispense with any sort of aim at all usually don't end up in a good place. There's a movie you might want to watch, and I believe it is on these YouTubes, and it's called Sit. And it is directed by, I've forgotten her name. If I remember, I'll put it on the screen, or I'll come in as the editor and tell you. But it is directed by Shohaku Okumura's daughter. Her name is Yoko Okumura. And Shohaku Okumura is a famous Zen teacher. And it is about Shohaku Okumura's son, who is obviously the brother of the woman who directed the film. And it's all about how he grew up in a kind of a Zen environment with this whole idea of remaining in the here and now. And Okumura Roshi even says somewhere in the film, I think, I'm quoting from memory, something like, I kind of feel bad because maybe my son's lack of ambition or lack of direction in life is because of me. The Zen Roshi says this, because of this whole emphasis on the here and now and remaining in the here and now, and maybe it just led him to think that he could just be aimless for the rest of his life. So, spoiler alert, he does finally get aimful in his life, and you can watch the movie and find out what happens. But I think it is a good thing to have an aim. But as I said at the beginning, know that your aim is probably not going to lead you exactly where you want to go, or it's not going to be exactly what you think it's going to be. And as my own example, I should have stayed with the major that I started with, even though I waffled around and got something else going. But so, who knows? I think just studying something you're interested in is probably the most important thing. And I'm interested in a lot of things, like this person who asked the question. As you see, I do these musical intros to my videos all the time because I'm still interested in guitar playing and doing that, but I know I'm not going to have a career in that. Even the aim of being a professional author, I never realized that. Now, you might think that's funny if you know me from my books, but I've never been able to earn enough money purely from book sales to make a living on. Even after, I think it's been 20 years that I've been doing this. It's still not earning me my money. What is earning me my money is these YouTube videos. So I'll talk to you about that at the end of the video, like I always do. But I didn't set off to become a YouTuber. YouTube didn't even exist when I was starting off. So, you never know where things are going to take you. So you kind of just, you make your aim and just do your best and try to live a good life and be a decent person and don't hurt anybody who doesn't need to be hurt or whatever, whatever Mr. Rogers would have said. And just be comfortable in the knowledge that life will take you where you need to go, but of course you do have to put in a little bit of effort. This is kind of the way Zen goes. There's that famous quote at the end of Genjo Koan where the master is fanning himself and the student says, well, if the nature of air is all around, why does the master use a fan? And this question is obviously, well, maybe not so obviously, the idea that enlightenment is all around. Why do you use a fan to fan yourself is kind of metaphorically saying, why do you do practice to realize what is always all around? And the master answers this. I had to go look it up to make sure I was getting it right. The master answers this saying, you only understand the nature of air is to be ever present, but you do not know the truth that there is no place that air cannot reach, because that's what he says. And the monk says, what is the truth of there being no place that air cannot reach? At this, the master just carries on fanning himself. So the idea is, it's all around, it's everywhere, it's available even now, and you're just as enlightened as you'll ever be right now, but you gotta do something to manifest that. Same with a career. You're gonna get the career that you need, you're gonna get the experiences that you need, there's a certain trajectory that life is gonna take you on, but you gotta do something to make it happen. And that doing something is, just like with Zazen and reaching enlightenment, it is one factor, it is one necessary factor, but it is not the determining factor. So even though it's necessary, it's not the thing that's going to determine everything. There you go. I think that's all I really wanted to say about that. I think that's the best advice I can give to somebody in high school trying to figure out what to do with their lives. Okay, and as I said, I don't make my living from books. I make my living from these donations that people give to my YouTube channel and my podcast. So if you want to donate, I'm going to put the donation thing on the screen below, and you're going to hear it if you're just listening to the audio version, which is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is hardcorezen.info/donate. There is where you will find links to my PayPal and Patreon accounts. Those are my main and usually my only ways of making a living, and I appreciate your support, but as always, you don't got to support me if you don't want to support me. Alright, we will see you later. Have a good time all the time. Bye. Hey Ziggy, how you doing? What career path do you want to choose? I think your career path should be being cute and chomping at flies. There you go. I think you got that one. Alright, we'll go inside and edit. See you later, Ziggy. I'll be in Europe this September. I'll be having a retreat in Finland September 11th through 14th. For info, write to kajozendo@gmail.com. September 17th through 21st, I will be at Benediktushof in southern Germany in Bavaria. And for info, write to info@benediktushof-holzkirchen.de. September 23rd through 25th, I'll be in Devon in the UK. Info is to come. I don't have information yet, but I'll be there. September 27th through 30th, I will be in Hebden Bridge, also in the UK. And for info, write to hebdenzen@gmail.com. See you there.